Hello, my name is John Bryant. I am an interviewer for the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, and I am interviewing Mr. Willie Watts on August the 6th at the main library. Good morning, Mr. Watts.
Good morning.
Tell me a little bit of background. How did you come to go in the Army? What were you doing before that, and did you enlist, or were you drafted?
No, I was drafted from Detroit. I had been living in Detroit about a year before, and I was working at the train station where all the young men would meet every morning and go out and board the train and be headed to the camps. There was guys that had been drafted.
And so then you were drafted.
Then I was drafted.
Where did you do your basic training?
At Camp Stewart, Georgia.
Tell me a little bit about basic training.
Well, I must be frank with you. It was terrible. It was miserable. Not only the weather was extremely hot, it was in the summertime, but everything else there. We were called colored soldiers. It was dangerous. It was more dangerous to go to camp than it was to sneak out of camp when I was in Europe, near the front, where you can hear cannons fire, small arms fire. I was scared in Camp Stewart, Georgia sometime from my own MPs and the Savannah Police Department than I was from the Germans. Absolutely. That is the truth.
Now, did you go into town from the camp in Savannah?
Not me. I saw the results of it. Boys coming back with their head all bandaged up. So that scared me. So I didn't go.
Now, you were from Detroit. You were drafted from Detroit, Michigan.
Right.
And went to Camp Stewart.
Right.
You knew at the time that the Army was segregated.
Yes.
But you were sort of caught by surprise when you got to Camp Stewart?
Oh, very much surprised about the way we were being treated. I knew we were going into a segregated military operation, but the way the guys were being treated on camp and off camp. On camp, when the MP, all of the white people, all of the MP that I saw were white. And they didn't carry pistols and sticks. They carried the Thompson submachine guns when they came around us.
Now, how were you segregated then within the camp, because there were white troops?
They was down the road.
So you were separated in that way?
Right. I would only see them maybe we passed through or they passed through.
Then you went to, what kind of training school did you go to after you left basic training?
After I left basic training, went to truck driving school in Camp Lee, Virginia.
And did you find the same kind of situation there? Or?
No, it was better in Camp Lee. It was better. As a matter of fact, in Camp Stewart, it had become a little better before I left because there was so many complaints. For instance, in Savannah, which was a nice-sized town, what the guys went to, were supposed to go to, and the colored soldiers, that they were called then, stopped going to town. I didn't go at all because they was afraid of the police and the MPs. The MPs and the police, they rode around in the same car, looking for black soldiers to harass them, make them call them Mr. and Sir and all this type of stuff.
What kind of activities did you have on the base?
We had a beer drinking stand. That was all we had. We did have a theater. I never did go to the theater because they were showing old pictures that I wasn't interested in. And I could entertain myself because I played music. I was a trumpet player. So I could entertain myself and entertain other guys. And incidentally, I had a brother with me.
Your brother?
My brother.
Went in the Army at the same time?
About 3 weeks earlier, I called it with him.
Older?
Older, 5 years old.
How long did the two of you serve together?
Well, until we got to Europe.
Okay, let me move forward. Then you went to school to be what?
Truck driver.
A truck driver. So you were a truck driver in the Army.
Right.
You went to Europe. Well, how long before after you finished school, did you get sent to Europe?
I would say about 2 months.
Okay. And what then did you do in Europe? Tell me a little bit about that.
We first went to Scotland, and then from Scotland we came back to England. We only was in Scotland for a few weeks. Came back to England, and there we stayed until D-Day. And we went in about 3 weeks after D-Day, 2 weeks after D-Day.
Were you involved at all in any of the fighting?
No more than I heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And then my job was to carry on my truck ammunition up to the fighting forces. Small ammunition and the big cannon ammunition as well.
What was life like in Europe? And you didn't find it very hospitable here in the United States as you were going into town and things like that. What was the relationships like in Europe?
And like in Scotland was nice, and England it was nice. Nobody harassed you.
Mm-hmm.
We was outright harassed in Counselor, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
but there, I mean, nobody harassed you. So we lived well.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of fun.
When you say you had a lot of fun, what do you mean?
We just doing nothing, was having fun. That's from what I come from. So, just doing anything. We entertain ourselves. I was a trumpet player and a piano player. And we'd find a piano in the day room or someplace. And we'd have things going. We had fun.
That was the primary sort of recreation that you had then off duty.
Right,
was,
off duty.
Entertaining your fellow soldiers.
Right.
With music, card playing.
Right, and things of that nature. I didn't do much of a card playing, but I was one of the musicians.
What kind of things told you, in a sense, that the war was going on, the bombing and all that was taking place? You were not directly involved with that.
Right, I wasn't directly involved with that. And I never felt scared, really, because I was always around the soldiers most of the time. Very few times I was caught by myself, which did scare me a little bit, by myself, and was lost, didn't know where I was, because the maps wasn't accurate. And trying to stop and was afraid to stop and ask people, because I didn't know, maybe a collaborator, we was told about collaborators, you know. And a few things like that, a few times like that, I became pretty uneasy and a little frightened.
Did you ever think about re-enlisting?
Yes, I did. But at the time, and what I remembered in Camp Stewart, it turned me against me. But I did think about enlisting, because I didn't have no wife or no children or no job.
Mm-hmm.
Really, to come back to. So if they had offered me anything, like going to school and things like that, I would have considered it. Yes.
Now you went in, of course, as a private. How many promotions?
Only one, Corporal.
To Corporal. And you were in for 2 years?
Yes.
The training that you received in the military, was it beneficial to you once you got out of the military?
No. None whatsoever. I can remember. The only thing it did help me, it taught me how to save money.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, no, I didn't learn anything that would really help me.
Helping you after.
Afterward.
And you didn't take advantage of or use the GI Bill?
No.
Considering where you were then, and what the Army was like at that point in time, can you imagine the Army as it is today?
Well, I guess I can somewhat because I have, how many sons? I have 3 sons, and one made a career with it. Just got out a few years ago, 20 years in the Air Force. And they treated him real well. He went in just after he graduated from high school, and he came out 4 or 5 years ago, Master Sergeant, and with a master's degree. So if I could have imagined doing something like that, oh yes, I would have stayed.
So there has been just a tremendous change. Colin Powell is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Absolutely.
Were you aware of black officers at the time that you were in?
I would just see them pass along, that's all. No, we had no black officers.
So you had no black officers.
No.
You went up to the NCOs, the sergeant, but you had no black officers.
No, we had no black officers, no.
Throughout the entire time
Throughout
that you
the
were
entire time.
in the service.
Right, the only black officers I would see them maybe pass along going somewhere.
Tell me a little bit about what happened to you then upon discharge. You were discharged where?
And I was discharged from Illinois.
You came back from
I
overseas.
came back from overseas there in Illinois. That's why I was discharged, and then I came to Detroit.
Mhm.
And I had saved up some money, and my dad had bought some property, and so I went up a cleaner in one of his storefronts.
Yeah, let me go all the way back. You were born in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Moved to Detroit at what age?
Oh, I was a teenager, 15, something like that. Before I went to Detroit, we lived in Indiana. We left Arkansas and came to Indiana.
Greencastle.
Greencastle, when I was very small.
And
So
then,
I call Greencastle my home.
so you spent most of your sort of formative years
In Greencastle.
Greencastle.
Greencastle, yes.
And then on to Detroit. You went in the military
Right.
from Detroit.
Right,
Station moved to Camp Stewart, then Georgia.
right.
Then to Fort Lee, was it?
Fort Lee.
And then overseas. So
Overseas.
you had a pretty direct movement, really, from completing your basic training and everything to going overseas.
Right, I did.
And you spent all of your career, essentially, in Europe.
Yes.
Didn't have any contact with the Germans or?
Oh, I was transported, can't think of the word now. Well, when you surrender.
But they prisoners of war.
To be a prisoner, that's
Mhm.
what I'm trying to think of. I transported prisoners. I'll take ammunition up to them, and then I bring prisoners back.
Okay, you took ammunition to
To the
the
fighting
troops.
front,
And
right.
then they had some prisoners.
I brought
you
them
brought
back.
them back.
Right.
You had, I'm assuming, quite a few guards then.
Oh, no, wait, sometimes I had none, and had at least 7 or 8 or 10 prisoners that just had to surrender an hour ago.
What kind of security did you have?
I didn't have any, a few MPs along the highway, along the road. Didn't have any.
So,
But they were usually stripped down, and some of them had on nothing but their underwear, and sometimes they were very, very cold. And they had no weapons.
mhm.
And I had one in the back of the truck. I could have jumped off if I wanted to.
Because you didn't have any kind of handcuffs or things?
Oh, no, they were just standing there huddled together in the back of my truck.
And where then did you deliver them?
I would deliver them at the first drop-off I could find. Wouldn't be no certain place. MP was all on the road. It was actually MP was the next drop-off place. And some of the places I dropped them off, it was as far as you could see, it was prisoners. I guess it must have been thousands and thousands. It's as far as you lined up in fields on both sides of the road, down the road, in ditches, in the woods. I mean, many of them could have just walked over. I guess they did, if they had any place to go. Maybe just a handful of MPs running around with automatic weapons, yelling and firing a few times to keep them jumping and scared.
What was it like when D-Day came?
When D-Day came on that time, of course the war still wasn't over in Japan.
Japan, right, but
I had a good feeling, but that bad feeling of now, we got to face to the Japanese.
but you didn't have any sense that your tour of duty was pretty much up and you were not likely to be sent to Japan.
Oh, they had told us we going.
Oh, really?
We saw that then, so that was no celebration.
So it was just a continuation of the war.
Absolutely.
With the possibility that you might end up going now to the Pacific.
Absolutely, we was going. At the White Alaska, we were going. But they had told us we were going. So very little training we had to do.
Race, obviously been a very great deal, you're very much aware of race and the different treatment between the African American soldiers and the white soldiers. How much did the troops themselves talk about this?
Not very much. Not very much. It was also always something else more preponderant. I mean, there's somewhat, they took that for granted almost, you know, that these are white soldiers over there, they're going to be served first, you know. It was just a matter of life, that's the way it was.
And most of the African-American troops, colored troops, were in service of supply, either doing driving or road work, engineering.
Most of them. Very few was in artillery and assault troops.
Do you ever have any contact with any of the persons you served in the military with?
No, sir, I was thinking about that, they're all gone.
Were there some that were here when you came at one point or another?
Well, not here, in Detroit.
In Detroit. When you got out of the Army, you went back to Detroit.
Yes.
You continued to work for the post office.
Yes.
How did you end up coming to Cincinnati?
I was in the railroad post office, and Cincinnati was one of my places.
Let me go back for a second. Explain what the railroad post office was.
The railroad post office is that, just like any other post office. We go from town to town when the train stops. And at the station, there are men at the station with these four-wheeler trucks pile up the mail. They pull it up to the side of the mail car, which the mail car is usually right behind the engine, in front of the passengers. And they will begin to throw the mail up into the door. And they, one of the clerks would stand there, and as you throw them up, we would look at where it was going and what it was. And so, no, this don't go here, that goes down to the next door, and they throw it on the next truck. And we'd do that for an hour. When we get finished, we'd have a big pile of mail that belongs to us. It would be mail that we was going to Detroit. It would be mail like Toledo, Dayton, Hamilton, all the places in between that we're going to stop. And then we'd get a piece of mail for a place that we didn't go through, say for instance, Portsmouth, Ohio. That's way down the river here. And we on our way to Detroit. You get a piece of mail for Portsmouth, Ohio, and you was up around Lima, that's 150 miles north. And Portsmouth is way south. Well, you have to send the mail back. So we have a lot of schemes to study. We have to know exactly where the town is and how they get the mail.
So you sorted the mail on the mail truck, on the mail train,
Yeah.
In terms of what city it was going to be dropped off on
Right.
along the way.
That's right. Yeah.
And every now and then, I'm understanding some things now as to why my mail sometimes got
One way around my own hand sometimes. Yes, that's true. But we had to do, if you didn't have a good memory, you couldn't possibly make a good railroad post office clerk. I remember at one time, I remember several thousand codes. Several thousand codes. That you could actually, Wycliffe, West Virginia, where is it? I could tell you where it was. You sent it to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati would get it out.
So the railroad cars actually did the shifting of sort of the mail from where it was going to go to California or Portsmouth, or
Right.
so it sort of started and shifted in the
Right.
mail railroad car.
Right, and you had to know which direction it was and how they get the mail. Sometimes you may get, we were on our way to Detroit, you may get a piece of mail to Chicago or somewhere around Chicago, and you are halfway to Detroit. Is it better to send the mail back to Cincinnati, or take it on to Detroit, or drop it off in Lima or Toledo?
After you got out of the service, you were discharged, have you had any contact with the military at all since that time? You did say that your 3 sons
Right.
served in the military,
Right.
but you really haven't had any contact with the military since discharge.
No, I've been on the base once or twice visiting my
To
son.
visit your sons.
Had dinner at the mess hall.
The food any different?
Oh, yes.
Tell me the difference between the food then and now.
Well, at that time, when I was there, the food was much different from the white soldiers. I couldn't wait till I get over. I'd take something over there. I would try to make sure around noon, eating time, and chow time. So I'd get in their line, but they had much better food than we had.
It was total separation, total inequality in terms of when I say total inequality, the food, the facilities, everything that the colored soldiers had was less than what the white soldiers had.
Oh, definitely. And I want to add about, and overseas, our officers was a much lower caliber of people. Get lost in a minute. So guys like me, truck driver, I had to really study the maps and things for myself. Well, we would hear all the time about other, not in my unit, but other colored units and truck drivers. The officers got them in a jam and got some of the trucks blew up and some of the guys got captured and so on. Didn't know where he was, didn't know how to read maps well. And so I spent a lot of time studying maps, so I wouldn't be caught in that type of situation.
So the feeling was that the officers that were assigned to the colored troops
Yes.
were less well qualified.
Yes. Matter of fact, we had a name we called them. What was it? It was equivalent to washed out. Washed out officers.
Yeah, they
Couldn't make it no place else.
They were assigned to the colored troops.
Right.
Have you seen a movie called A Soldier Story?
No.
Okay, which is very similar to sort of what you're saying here in terms of the way the colored troops were treated relative to the white troops.
Yes.
I think, is there something that you would like to add that we haven't covered?
Well, what was I call it, look as I look back, I call it a high point, was that I overseas and we were in France, and I got sick, coming out with a cold or something. And I went to the roadside station, and they took my temperature. You can't go back to your outfit. You they sent you to the hospital. Started reading off a bunch of numbers. And so, and all I had was my car, being my rifle, and my utilities and the saving stuff. And they wouldn't let me go back and get anything going to the hospital now. So the guy went out and stopped the ambulance. We were coming by, take this man to the hospital. So we was in Le Mans, France, the hospital in Le Mans, France. And they kept me in that hospital for about 3 weeks. There was nothing wrong with me. They was checking something, because you got a lot of rumors that the Germans used to go getting ready to use that secret weapon. We didn't know what that secret weapon was. Maybe it was gas or something. And so I was coming down with a high temperature, and they couldn't find no reason for it. So they kept me in the hospital about 3 weeks. And at the end of 3 weeks, they let me go. My outfit was God knows where. Nobody knew what it was. They tried to find them, calling around, they couldn't find them. So they sent me to a replacement center, just outside of Paris. And I was quite familiar with the replacement center. But being a truck driver, they picked up guys, they took guys in there. And it's just like a prison. You couldn't run away, you couldn't do nothing. And it was in the dead winter time, and there was no heat, and none of the shades, none of the barracks. Wasn't no barracks, some sheds. They just stay in. No mattress, no bunk bed with none but boards on it. No heat, no stove, no nothing. And it was below zero. And all during the night, officers would come in and be calling names of guys. What are they calling their names for? They didn't call my name. No, we found out when those guys had been around there. They was calling them to, they were sending them out to, up on the front to lug ammunition around. So I was expecting them to call me, but they never did.
So that's something that you remember?
That's something I remember well, and then after about 3 weeks, I had give up. I would never see my outfit again. When I first saw them, we had them a driver and a Jeep, and drove in the cold and the snow. Oh, I guess it was about 150 miles to get me. And the old first sergeant was a man I didn't like.
Would you like it better after that? Were there any sort of characters in your outfit that you remember? Persons that were sort of unique?
One guy, he wasn't my buddy at all. I don't know why he asked me to go with him. We just had moved into a place, danger zone in France. And he said he knew of a place not far for me to walk with him down there. He won't buy me a drink if I walk with him down there. I said, you know we're not supposed to leave the area. We just got here this afternoon. We don't know, So, everything's okay. And I followed him down the road, the dirt road, came to a cafe, and went in the cafe. And I noticed he knocked before he went in. He evidently hadn't been there before or something, but we only been there like this afternoon. And we went in there, and a lady and a daughter, 15, 16 years old. He told them what he wanted to drink, and they headed there. So he and I would sit down drinking. And I noticed when we come in, she locked the door behind us. And after a while, he's sitting there drinking, he and I, nobody else was in there, but she and her daughter. He's sitting there drinking, and we heard some footsteps coming down the gravel road. Germans, you can tell how they walk, with those boots on. And I looked at him, and he looked around at the lady. And we were then looking at, all three of us looking at each other, and she bowed her head that there was Jews. And so they came up and knocked on the door. I looked down at my card game, and he had this M1 laying beside him. And I started thinking, like, you got me in there, you got me in there, if any shooting coming, I'm gonna shoot you first. I'm getting mad with him. So she talked with them through the door. She speaks German. She talked with him, and after a while, they went on. And I said, let's get out of here. No, not just wait till, let's wait and them get gone, good and gone. And so told the lady, bring us another drink. So we had another drink. And then he asked the lady, would she go out and look? She said about it. She went outside and she looked, come in, no, she didn't see anybody. And so we left. And went down and looked back over. I'm walking now about 15 paces behind him. Anything goes on, he can get you up in front. So we walked on down the gravel road and had to cut across a pasture field and took a little woods there. And came to walking around the edge of the woods, the edge of the wood with the grass and the trees meet. Walking around that, and we came to a little jump, went out, so we had to make a left turn and go around this little jump. Down in the jump was a gully, and some bushes around it. So he was walking in front, and we heard German talking, tell me speaking German. And so he was about 2 feet in front of me. He going to meet him first. So they couldn't, we wasn't talking, so you couldn't see us. So they was coming from one side, we was coming up on the other side. He's in the front, and he met him, and he took his rifle. Home! They dropped their rifles, two hands up, there was 3 of them. And he told them, come here, and waved his hand. And they walked up to him, and I'm still standing back. And so the one that playing up the rear, Jim, wasn't a 3 of them. And they wasn't walking in close together. The 3rd one, when he said, my buddy said, and to his rifle, the 3rd one jumped in the bushes, he thought. But there was a gully. He went down in the gully, and he was down there yelling, and it was dark. And the one that was in the German that was in the front could speak some pretty good English. And he said, would you help me, please help me, my buddy. Come on, down there. And the ditch and snakes down there, and the mud and everything to get him out. Nobody had no light. And so they had thrown their rifles down. And so my buddy and those other 2, the 3rd one was down there, those 2 ran out and got some long sticks and things, was pulling it down there, yelling down there. We had no light, they couldn't see it. It was dark down there. So they finally, they were talking in German, telling them what they was doing, and he finally found the end of the stick, and they pulled him out.
So then did you capture the Germans?
We had no business, and my buddy looked into what we gonna do with them. Do nothing with them, let them go. I mean, we ain't got no business being out here. We can't take them back and say, Captain, we were down there. Leave some guys that we that surrendered to us. No, we don't let no guys go.
So actually,
They left their
weapons and went on their way.
And last time I saw them, they were running.
So actually, then you were in pretty close contact. Then the the enemy, and the persons that were fighting were in close contact with each other and came in contact with each other.
You see, they send both sides, send these patrols out. You know? They might go out 5 or 6 miles, probing and see what they can see. And then they're quite safe because you wouldn't fire on 2 or 3 soldiers or wandering around. You know what they're doing. You just give your position away if you start shooting. to this little one around, they want to go back to their lines on both sides, you know, these times. And sometimes our group would meet their group, and they would exchange cigarettes and talk.
Now, did you visit this place again?
No,
That was it.
no.
Mr. Watts, thank you ever so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. A small Canadian ship, and that we pulled out of Southampton, England, somewhere after midnight. And the next morning, we were going slowly, and to the beach, Omaha Beach, and we could see ships that had been hit sideways. Some of them were still smoking. As the fog lifted, you could see where we were going on the shores. You could see tanks over on the side, trucks over on the side, little pieces of clothes laying everywhere, helmets laying everywhere. No bodies. All was white. But most of them was Jewish. And many of them resented being in an outfit because they wouldn't put them in a white outfit over white soldiers. They put them in black outfits. And then some of them resented it. And they had to, like a pecking order, they take it out on us.
The Jewish officers were not put over white troops.
As a general rule.
As a general rule, they were put over colored troops. So a double level of sort of discrimination.
Yes. Everybody was aware of it.
You were aware of it, the officers themselves were aware of it. Because clearly this was something that you knew, the Jewish officers knew.
Yes.
And that would be interesting to look at Jews in the military, the U.S. Army, and so many of the officers, white officers, were from the South.
Yes.
And there would have been that double kind of layering, if you will, of class structure within the office force. Again, thank you very, very much. I enjoyed it tremendously.